If that's currently Ohtani or Judge, it takes a lot to be that. Getting a nickname from one friend isn't anything special, but being named after the sport by everyone else takes much more than just being great at what you do.
Mr. Baseball is with us.
Hey!
Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker represented baseball better than anyone, receiving the name Mr. Baseball, but it certainly wasn't for his playing career. Although he did hit 3 home runs off Sandy Koufax, Fergie Jenkins, and Gaylord Perry, no one made more fun of his playing career than himself.
I'd be sitting there and he'd say, grab a bat and stop this rally. Send me up there without a bat and tell me to try for a walk. I've set records that will never be equaled. 90% I hope are never printed.
The Milwaukee Brewers haven't done much right as a franchise. 0 championships, 1 pennant, 26 straight seasons of not making the postseason, losing players because of money, but they made their best decision in 1971, hiring Bob Uecker to be their radio announcer. At a time when the team only had 16 games on TV, this was the only way you could pay attention to your team unless you were at the ballpark. But that's not where he started with the Brewers. In July of '71, he was hired as a full-time scout and part-time public relations man. Like his playing career, his time as a scout also wasn't great. Bud Selig, the Brewers owner at the time, would say he'd consistently get scouting reports with mashed potatoes and gravy on it. And Uecker was sent to the radio booth later on in the year, something Selig swears was true. Uecker would start off by doing color, with longtime broadcasters Merrill Harmon and Tom Collins doing most of the play-by-play, but was forced to change roles when both left the booth in the middle of a game at Yankee Stadium. Uecker would say it was awful and that he sounded like the Chipmunks. So throughout his first 3 jobs in baseball, he was 0 for 3, a typical day at the plate for him. With his first appearance being on Johnny Carson that same year, he was quickly gaining a lot of national love, with Carson receiving an average of 9 million viewers per night during his peak.
We thought we'd invite Bob to kind of reminisce about some of the great World Series games he's enjoyed watching from the grandstands, like a lot of us. Would you welcome Bob Uecker?
Uecker, of course, would get better than that day at Yankee Stadium as he mentored Pat Hughes, who would call more than 6,000 MLB games, and others who had long careers. A tree that isn't too common with other all-time great broadcasters.
Busch Stadium in St. Louis, the World Series, Game 1, the Cardinals and the Brewers.
He got to broadcast the 1982 World Series, the lone Brewers appearance, although I couldn't find a single audio clip of that. I guess that's another example of history is written by the victors. But doing big games for the Brewers was only the beginning. Add an actor to his resume of MLB player, comedian, announcer, and scout, thanks to starring in all 118 episodes of ABC's show, Mr. Belvedere.
Maybe even set up a tackling dummy. Speaking of which, you busy later?
While at the same time announcing national MLB games on TV and consistent appearances on Johnny Carson, he was already becoming a household name.
So we say hello to Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker, and Hall of Famer Joe Morgan. Let's get right to it. A rookie starts Game 7 for the Cleveland Indians.
Well, I didn't think there was any other choice for Mike Hargrove, Bob. I love the choice.
Of course, like every big name, player or not, the Yankees had serious interest in him. Mark Adanasio, the Brewers' current owner, would say that he had every opportunity to leave the city and leave the state, mentioning that he could have left to become a full-time actor, a full-time comedian, or to the Yankees, especially in a time when the Yankees got everybody they wanted, while the Brewers never had a contract with Uecker throughout his entire career, only a handshake agreement with Selig and Adanasio. More money, more recognition, yet he stayed in Milwaukee, a type of loyalty rarely shown nowadays.
His first offering, just a bit outside.
Just like in real life, the movie Major League has plenty of one-liners that are referenced plenty. In just a smaller side role, he was as big in the movie as Charlie Sheen. He was so popular that the actors who have been in plenty of big-name films showed up to set just to watch Uecker do his lines. Although just a bit outside was in the script, plenty of what was said and done was all Uecker, from adding,
He tried the corner and missed,
and drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels. Up until the early 90s, Uecker would throw a bat in practice every day for the team until a surgery was needed for a life-threatening condition, which made him retire from that role. He was still up in the booth, but not only for the Brewers.
Hi again, everybody. Along with Hall of Famer Joe Morgan and Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker.
Getting to do All-Star games, League Championship Series, and even the World Series, he was becoming one of the national announcers casual fans would even recognize alongside Bob Costas and Joe Morgan. Costas wasn't liked towards the end of his career, but Morgan was never well liked by fans who tune in. Although Mr. Baseball is of course recognized for baseball, he still branched off to do other sports.
How about getting your foot off my shoulder?
Milwaukee County Stadium wasn't the prettiest ballpark. It certainly didn't see much winning in its final 18 years, but it was the place of Major League, where Uecker announced for nearly 30 years, so it was only fitting that he was the one who got to say,
It's time to say goodbye. We will never forget you, for what was will always be. So long, old friend, and good night, everybody.
Uecker liked to show off his humor anywhere, in the booth, on shows, in random conversations, but his best stories might have been in 2003 when he was elected to the Hall of Fame.
This was another thing that I found easy to catch a knuckleball, was to wait until it stopped rolling and then just pick it up. I had a great shoe contract and glove contract with a company who paid me a lot of money never to be seen using their stuff.
He was as big to Milwaukee as Hank Aaron and Robin Yount, and the Brewers as a team did what they could to show him that.
Celebrating the legend, Bob Uecker, Mr. Baseball, his 50th year in the broadcast booth.
But of course, with age didn't come less medical scares.
The health problems became a little more evident, and to a point where it's necessary to make some changes.
Bob Uecker is out of surgery and doing well tonight. The voice of the Brewers for 40 years spent 6 hours undergoing some pretty serious heart surgery.
New health concerns for the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. Bob Uecker is facing another heart surgery.
It's always scary, but even scarier for a 75-year-old man.
As far as going back to work goes, I don't know about working on the road, but I think I'll be able to come back relatively soon and do games here.
In nod of the I must be in the front row commercial, the Brewers put another statue in the Uecker seats with his one that was already outside, something only Aaron, Yount, and Selig received before. When you're in baseball for more than 50 years, you see a lot, but the 2020 season was a new one for him. Season being delayed, no fans, and due to being high risk, Uecker had to be separated from the team, but would still work and call games. Even some on the road, when he had to stay in Milwaukee and call a game off a monitor at Miller Park. As the Brewers were nearing their first division title since 2018, Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers made an announcement. Right now is considered the best years of the franchise, and after being part of all the losing teams, no one took it for granted less than Uecker.
So Ulysses has turned into the ace, but that's your real ace. Mr. Baseball, Bob Uecker.
How much fun is this to be here in this room and celebrate with the guys?
Oh, it's great. I mean, this is from upstairs. I was sweating during the game.
What an example for us to be with every single day. Bob Uecker. No doubt.
The team valued himself so much that they delayed their celebration so that he could make it down from the booth. Nearing his 90s, seeing winning baseball and having past health issues, it made sense for him to retire. But Uecker would go on to say,
if I wasn't capable of doing a game, if I was ever going to embarrass myself or embarrass the team, I would quit in a minute.
Without making it public at the time, it was revealed that Uecker would be diagnosed with lung cancer in 2023, something that was only known by some in the organization. After 2 more division titles, it seemed known by the entire clubhouse that this would be Uecker's last season, which was made even more clear by his final sign-off.
And the crew will have it end here tonight. I'm telling you, that one had some sting on it.
And an even more heartbroken Jeff Levering.
We'll chat with you again in the spring, where we will try and do it all over again in 2025. Just never know what's going to happen, folks. That's why we're all fans, because this game is the best. Well, we'll get through it somehow. We'll have the off season. This is Jeff Levering saying goodbye for the final time in 2024. We'll chat with you again next spring.
Even at 90 years old, Brewer fans simply thought he was retiring and couldn't imagine a deeper meaning.
Bob Uecker, the beloved Hall of Famer and play-by-play announcer, has died.
Instantly after the news broke, Brewer fans traveled to Uecker's statue outside of American Family Field. And even after a few unopened beers exploded, But no one would have laughed at that more than Bob Uecker looking down from the front row.